and welcome to Karibuni Jikoni. My name is Chef Carol and this is my cooking class. So today in my cooking class I am doing some simple mandazis. These are very simple recipe which you can do when, for example, you're expecting guests and you have to prepare something fast. With mandazis you can do with baking powder, or you can do with yeast. And when you do them with yeast, I think you call them mahamri. But today I'll do with baking powder, and the reason why I'm using baking powder is because you don't have to let them rest for long, like with yeast, because the yeast has to rise, and the baking powder is already, you can prepare them immediately after using them. So I have my baking powder here. I'll put it in, and I have some sugar. So the recipe of the whole video is at the end of the whole, what I'm cooking is at the end of the video, so you can check that out. And what I also have, I like the taste of cardamom in my mandazis, so I'll do some cardamom. And because you don't use the skin, and I just want to just blend a bit so that you don't have the hard things inside. So that's cardamom. So, and while I'm doing this, my oil is already heating, so you don't have to wait long. So during the time you're making your dough, make sure that your oil is heating on medium heat. So if you have a thermometer, it's about 170, 175 degrees for your oil. So what I also like in my mandazis is just a little bit of nutmeg. But really just a bit, because nutmeg is very strong in taste. So if you put a lot of it, you'll have a very strong taste of nutmeg. So and then I stir that. I also do one egg. It's not a must. You can leave the egg out. And I have some coconut milk. So the simplest mandazi recipe is without the egg and without coconut milk. That means you can use water. And that's okay, because the taste is there. So for the first one, I just use the fork. And after that, I'll use my hands. It's just to mix the very wet, so that I don't have to get my hands very wet. That's already enough. So, and then I use my hands. And the proportion is always, when you're using wheat, I use all-purpose wheat flour. If you want to use wheat that has been, baking flour, which has been mixed with baking powder, that's okay. But I like mixing it myself, so I know the exact, the exact amount of baking powder that I put in. And now I can take my dough out of the bowl and knead it here. So it's very important when you're doing a dough, may it be chapati, may it be mandazis, to knead it well. That that your dough has to be very, very soft, and this one you only get through kneading. So you you can also do a long one and just knead and knead and knead turn it around. And when you reach this point, you can even, you don't have you don't have to add more wheat if the proportion is right. I mean the water and flour proportion. So for 1 kilo of flour, you always need about 600 ml. So I have 500 grams of flour. And because I have 1 egg, which also brings some wetness in the dough, I reduced my coconut milk to 280. So you have to put that into account. And you notice how your dough is changing when you knead it for about 4 to 5 minutes. Doing big doughs, of course, longer. So when it looks like my oil is now hot, so this is how you do the oil test. If you have a wooden spoon, you just place it into your oil, and if bubbles starting coming up immediately, then your oil is hot. So that already looks good. And this is mostly the most important part, the kneading. So that's how you get super soft mandazis or even chapatis when you're doing chapati. You can let your dough rest for long. It's always good to prepare doughs you do with baking powder almost immediately. With yeast, it doesn't matter. You can keep it longer, also in the fridge, and maybe also prepare the following day. But with baking powder, it loses its strength with time, and it won't be rising well if it stays for a long time. So, and then you roll out your dough. Not very thin. And the nice thing, the good thing about mandazis, for example, if you have kids, these are things that kids love doing. And, the kneading of the dough, so you can let the kids do that. And what is also nice is they can shape their mandazis the way they want. It doesn't necessarily have to be round or, what I do with my kids is we do mandazi days, and, they cut different shapes and they have fun doing that. So I think that's okay now. I can cut it into pieces. And like I said, there are no rules for this. You can do them the way you want, big, small, round ones. You can take something like this and just, press, and you'll have some nice round mandazis. Just be creative, and this is the easiest you can do. That's what I'm doing. So I can already put the first ones in. Be careful, of course, when using hot oil. And mandazis go well with tea. So when I'm missing home, for example, I make some mandazis and then I make some nice Kenyan tea And it's like a ritual, really. And I enjoy my mandazis with a nice tea masala, with lots of milk and some sugar. So after they start getting brown, you turn them to the other side. And they're looking beautiful. So make sure you're on moderate heat, because sometimes when the heat is too much, what happens is that your mandazis will turn black, and you have to take them out, although they are not well cooked. So I'll put this in so that the oil can drip there. So, oh, this is looking so beautiful. The color is beautiful. And it's really, it's really fast. And that's the good thing about mandazis. You have a nice snack for your guests, for your children, for breakfast. I also like mandazis for breakfast. So the others are almost done. So when you decide to do mahamri with yeast, make sure you let your yeast rest for at least half an hour. It's always better to do an hour or even more, until the size of your dough doubles. So that's the rule, until the size of your dough doubles. So here we are. The next ones are done. And the good things about mandazis, you can also eat them as a main course with mbaazi, for example, or beans. And because of the spices, wow, that really looks good. So I think they are all done now. You see, how long does that take you? 10 minutes maybe? And this is half a kilo. And like you can see, these are many put off. So, and here are my very fast cardamom mandazis. I wish you lots of fun while, cooking with my recipes. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can be getting information every time I post a new video. And till next time on my cooking class, bye bye for now.